Hey everybody, welcome back to Distracted Andrew. I want one episode with a nice clean...
Hey everybody, welcome back to Distracted Quartet of Chaos. I'm Adam, not your hopefully humble host, but to get to him, I will toss it over to my good brother Aaron.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Welcome to the masculine edition.
Someday I'll have an actual, normal, clean intro.
In this family?
Not that day. That's why I said someday, because it may never happen.
No way.
That's exactly what I thought of, Adam. Welcome back, everybody. We are way super excited to be joining you all the way from Mexico. Not physically talking about the placement of the movie.
Mexico, even though half of it's like in South America.
Yeah. Okay, so a few housekeeping things. First of all, you may notice we're missing our lovely female counterpart. Our little sister is not recording with us today. So we're going to have another Distracted Interviews of Chaos at the end of this episode where I hear about Abby's opinions on this movie. But yeah, today you get a masculine episode with the three bros. That's fun. And also, as I always say, a prerequisite apology. I have a dog and two cats that are all very hyperactive and very loud and annoying. So if you hear any barking or jingling bells or anything like that, sorry. But I do the best I can, and that's all I can do. So anyways, welcome back to Distracted. If this is your first time here, why would you pick this episode? But also welcome. We cover all of the Walt Disney Animation Studios feature films in order of release date. So we started with Snow White, and we're working our way to present day, which now, to date this recording, Strange World came out in theaters this past week. So
did it? I have not been paying attention.
It did. It came out on Thanksgiving Day, or the day before Thanksgiving. So
I forgot it was coming out already.
So it is now 61. There's now 61 Walt Disney Animation films. So we are covering movie number 7 today, which is The Three Caballeros.
I keep wanting to call it Saludos Amigos, even though I know that was last time.
Oh, yeah. That was our last episode, which was, not to tip my hand, but much better.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll take Saludos Amigos over this any day.
I very much thought this was going to be the better one out of the two.
Let me introduce to you my three caballeros. Oh, I mean, my trio of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't listened to any of our episodes before, there's a recurring joke that I'm Donald Duck because I have a bad temper. So, duh, of course, I'm Aaron. I'm the hopefully humble host.
I think he just tipped his hand there, Adam.
I am Donald Duck. I am Donald Duck. And the second of the four of us to be birthed, Adam, for the second week in a row, is Jose Carioca.
The Brazilian parrot. Take it!
Oh, man, that means I'm Panchito.
Yes, and rounding out our three caballeros is our eldest.
You can't say you would be anything different the way he makes his entrance, yipping and hollering, firing guns crazy. If you had the chance, man.
Oh, he is
it's perfect.
Hyperactive to the next level. That is me for sure.
So Andrew, the oldest of us, is our Panchito Pistoles because he is pyromaniac, and he's crazy, and he's loud, and he screams and jumps around, and he drags people everywhere he goes. So that's Andrew. And y'all can hear who our little sister is in our interview at the end of the episode. Too bad it's not the four caballeros. Am I right? Ha. No,
what I do find funny is that we didn't plan this. This wasn't like so we fit the Three Caballeros theme. Abby's gonna sit out this for the main thing, and she's gonna. This is just how it worked out.
Yeah, she had plans. Yeah. We weren't able to record in time, and
you know, life happens, especially around the holidays, and sometimes it's just really hard to get schedules to work. So you do what you can. So, anyways,
very true.
Before we jump into the vast depths of our memories of this movie, let me share some fun facts with you guys. Gosh, there's going to be so much sarcasm in this episode. So, The Three Caballeros was released first in Mexico City on December 21st, 1944.
Huh.
And then it was later released in the U.S. and the United Kingdom, February 3rd of 1945. Very similar to the previous movie, Saludos Amigos, where it was released first in the country that it was most based off of, and then released elsewhere. This is also part of the studio's goodwill message that we talked about in Saludos Amigos. And if you want to know more about that, totally go listen to our episode. But you should listen to it after this one, because why would you leave this episode in the middle of it? I mean, we're pretty cool. So this is another part of the Goodwill program, the Good Neighbor program that Disney was a part of, which just puts a lot of perspective on this movie. So the box office brought in $3.35 million for The Three Caballeros, and the runtime is 71 minutes, so it's an hour and 11 minutes. And so that's all your boring random facts that I spat off at the beginning. So now for some fun facts. The Three Caballeros was released on the day that marked the 10th anniversary of the creation of Donald Duck.
Oh, cool. That's why they're celebrating his birthday.
Okay, that's fun.
That's why they celebrated his birthday.
I love that it said that his birthday is Friday the 13th, which explains so much about his character.
Yeah. It makes so much sense. It's just perfect. The Three Caballeros was re-released only once in theaters in 1977, and it was so heavily edited that it dropped from 71 minutes to 41 minutes.
Oh my gosh!
They cut out an entire half hour of the movie. I'm sure it is. I wish I could have watched that one.
Honestly, say.
Panchito, in late World War II, was a minor military symbol.
Really?
Fun fact. He was the mascot of the 201st Fighter Squadron, which was a Mexican squadron that assisted the U.S. in the recapture of the Philippines.
Huh, that's pretty cool.
He was their mascot, which is pretty cool. And this movie was the last feature film released during World War II. So the rest of the package films were just for the heck of it.
They were. I'm guessing because the production was still during World War II.
I'm assuming as much.
Mm-hmm.
And for all of you who are curious what caballeros mean, a caballero is a gentleman or a knight.
Okay.
There's your grammar lesson.
That's
cool. Okay.
Sure. Remember, you love me.
Shut up, Adam. I do love you. Okay. It was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Scoring and Best Sound Recording. Of course, it didn't win either of them, but the supervising director, we'll get into the crew here. The supervising director was Norman Ferguson. Once again, he also was the supervising director of Saludos Amigos.
Okay.
And then we have 4 sequence directors. The sequence director that was in charge of all of the live action stuff was Harold Young. And the other 3, I have no idea what they were in charge of, other than they were in charge of animated sequences. So those 3 were Jack Kinney and Bill Roberts, who are both also sequence directors on Saludos Amigos, and newcomer Clyde Geronimi.
Clyde?
It's the first I've heard his name. Clyde. And then producer, who else?
Anymore.
I know.
It's a fun name.
I know.
But
yeah, our producer is none other than Walt Disney, of course.
Oh.
Oh, yes, Andrew?
I was gonna say Peter Jackson. That was my guess. But
you mean Wilfred Jackson?
No,
he means Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson.
No. I was also trying to make a joke.
Sorry,
yes, that is
we
correct.
Can continue.
That's okay. Music was done by Ed Plum, Paul J. Smith, and Charles Walcott, which I think this is the first movie that what's his face? Let me go find it. Frank Churchill did not help with the music on, which is quite interesting.
Huh. Okay.
Yes, Frank
I guess that
Churchill.
makes sense based on the type of music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which actually, this is also not all original music. The Three Caballeros song, the melody is derived from a popular Hispanic song, I think it's from Mexico. And then there's like 2 or 3 songs that were pre-existent before the movie as well. So
okay.
I missed a fun fact. This is one of the first feature-length films to incorporate animation and live action together.
I thought so.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense.
That it does. Okay, and then we'll get into our cast. So, of course, voicing Donald is Clarence Nash, the original voice of Donald. And returning to voice Jose Carioca again is Jose Oliveira, who we talked about last time. He was a big stage name in Brazil. Filming, voicing Panchito was a man named Joaquin Garay. His son was in a Herbie movie. That's all that I read about him.
Interesting.
Yeah. Voicing the Araquan bird.
Oh, that guy.
Was Pinto Colvig, the original voice of Goofy.
Really?
That checks out.
So the narrator of the Pablo the Penguin short was Sterling Holloway, our best friend, the original voice of Winnie the Pooh. We love him. Our narrator for the Little Gauchito, or the Flying Gauchito segment, was Fred Shields, who we've talked about a lot the past couple episodes. He did all the narration for Saludos Amigos. He was the Great Prince in Bambi.
Yes.
And he did some other narrations for Disney. And then the narrator for the rest of the movie, for all the other parts of the movie, was Frank Graham. And then we have a couple famous Latina performers and singers, part of live action stuff. And those ladies are Dora Luz, Carmen Molina, and the woman who was Yaya, the cookie seller, cookie merchant, in the Bahia segment, was Aurora Miranda, the younger sister of Carmen Miranda.
Really? Wow.
Who's Carmen
so that's
Miranda
pretty
again?
fun.
I cannot remember.
She's
but I know the name.
Yeah, if you hadn't asked me, Adam.
I'll look it up.
I think she's the one that made the big hat of fruit popular, but also that could just be a random thing. But she was a really famous
she was known for her signature fruit outfit that she wore in her American films. She was an actor and a singer. She was an actress and a singer.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That is what I thought.
Interesting.
So that's pretty cool. This is one of the few English-speaking movies that she was in. So that's pretty cool. And then, as far as where they are referenced in the parks, Three Caballeros is referenced in the Coronado Springs Resort and the All-Star Music Resort. There's topiaries in the Coronado Springs Resort. And in the All-Star Music Resort, there is a guitar-shaped fountain, and the centerpiece are the Three Caballeros.
Okay. They're also in the ride in the Mexico Pavilion in Epcot.
Yes, they are. Andrew's always stealing my thunder.
It seemed like you were done. Like that was it. I'm sorry. I was like, oh, did he forget?
No,
because they are Three Caballeros ride.
No, they're in the Grand Fiesta Tour featuring the Three Caballeros boat ride inside the Mayan temple of Mexico.
I honestly love that one.
Epcot.
It's fun.
It's a cute ride. It makes sense now that I've seen the movie too.
Yes,
the ride make a lot more sense. And then also in Disneyland, California, and It's a Small World, the Mexico section features 3 dolls of the Three Caballeros.
Oh, cool.
The Disney, It's a Small World, has lots of Disney characters.
Disneyland.
The Disneyland California one,
yeah. It's got
has lots of Disney characters all throughout the It's a Small World.
Okay.
Which I don't believe most of them aren't in the Orlando.
I don't think any of them are in the Disney World in Orlando.
I don't think so, but I know that there's a lot of them in Disneyland.
I only learned that recently.
Adam, I did not do any research, but did the Three Caballeros, are they referenced at all in any of the Kingdom Hearts franchise?
Outside of Donald being there, no. There is no reference to Three Caballeros in Kingdom Hearts.
Alas, we shall skip our trip to Traverse Town today. And the last thing I want to mention is that Jose and Panchito have both made appearances in a few different House of Mouse episodes. There was actually a House of Mouse episode where the three of the Three Caballeros were the hosts. It was a Three Caballeros special House of Mouse, essentially.
Oh, cool.
They have appeared in some of the newer Disney Junior shorts, like the Mickey Mouse Roadster Racers, and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, I believe. And then they made an appearance in one of the season 3 episodes of the DuckTales reboot.
DuckTales, that was a great episode.
I almost spit that out, and then he's gonna do it. Don't steal his thunder. Don't steal his thunder.
I know. I was like, oh,
thank you for appreciating me.
And
I have very little pride.
So in the DuckTales episode, it talks about how basically they were a college band.
They were a band.
The three of them, and it's great. I really recommend that one.
Fantastic.
And they have this whole scheme that Dewey and Louie put on to try to get the Three Caballeros on stage at this big ritzy party.
Yep.
And that's a similar premise to the Disney Junior show that they make an appearance on, is they were old bandmates of Donald's, and Donald couldn't show up to perform with them, so Daisy performed with them or something. So.
Interesting.
But they have made their rounds.
Mm-hmm. Side note, real quick, for anyone who has not watched the reboot of DuckTales, go watch it. It is
phenomenal.
It's so good.
Phenomenal. David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck. That's all I got to say. Fantastic.
It's so good. I love that. Danny Pudi as Huey is perfect.
Oh yes.
All three of the triplets are great.
The nephews.
Them.
It's such a good show. So go watch it. But tangent over. And there was a rebooted TV show of the Three Caballeros. It was called Legend of the Three Caballeros.
Was it a TV show? I thought it was a movie.
I think it was a movie.
Well, there was some sort of TV show that was released in 13 episodes on the Disney Interactive app that ended up, it's now on Disney Plus, I think. Maybe there was another movie. I'm not sure, but I know there was a series.
It was a show that they just
It is a series. It was in 2018. It had one season.
Okay. I thought so. I was worried I was going to have to say my trademark Aaron doesn't do enough research.
No,
but
that's
I did.
That's 100% my fault. I saw it on Disney Plus and I just assumed it was a movie.
The picture on Disney Plus does look like a movie.
13 episodes. All right.
Yeah. So that is all of my cast and crew and fun facts. So I guess we can keep going now.
Get into nostalgia now? Or...
Yes, why don't we?
All right.
Andrew, because I feel like you'll have the most to say, tell me what you remember of the Three Caballeros.
Well, I think I'll have about as much to say as Adam does, and that is the only thing I know about this movie from growing up, the only thing I remember is on one of our Disney sing-along VHS tapes, they had the Three Caballeros song on there, and it was one of my favorite songs on those VHS tapes. It's a catchy song. It's fun.
It's great.
It is. It's a great song, and I was like, oh yeah, the Three Caballeros, cool. And then didn't know what they were from, didn't know that there was a Three Caballeros movie that's awful. Sorry to tip my hand there, but that's it. I watched the Disney sing-along videos all the time as a kid, and will still go back and rewatch them every now and then as an adult just because they're fun. And that was on one of them, and that's the only memory I have of this movie.
Yeah. I don't know why I said you would have more to say than Adam, or even me or Abby, because that's all that any of the four of us knew about the Three Caballeros, was that there was a song on one of the sing-along songs. Yep. It was a Three Caballeros song. I did miss one fun fact.
Go ahead and skip me, because it's the...
Okay. No, it's okay, Adam. I did miss one fun fact. It's kind of a fun story. So, one of the 9 old men, which if you haven't listened to any of our episodes, the 9 old men were 9 of the original animators for Disney, who all became legends. And these 9 men basically created Disney as we know it. So they created the style. They animated most of the main characters for the movies for a long time. They created the movement style, the facial expressions. They made Disney what it is through its animated movies. And the only member of the 9 old men that was not present for this was Wooly Reitherman. But the fun fact / story is one of the 9 old men, I forgot to write it down, but one of the 9 old men was the animator for the song The Three Caballeros. And he, after he finished animating the segment, was so sure that Walt Disney was going to fire him. Because all that he had was the lyrics. And so he animated everything just to the lyrics and to the words. And he was so sure that Disney was going to fire him because he felt like it was awful. And Disney ended up loving it. But also, the song that we remember from the sing-along song was not the full song. There was like a verse that was cut out, apparently, because when I was watching this, there was a verse in the song that I was like, whoa, I don't remember that one. It was a verse about seeing pretty ladies.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, but I can't remember which of the 9 old men it was. It was Les Clark, Ward Kimball, or Eric Larson, maybe. I don't remember. Yeah, so there's another fun fact that I missed. So we're going to go ahead and skip over mine and Adam's personal opinions, or not personal opinions, but our nostalgia or memories.
It's going to be the same.
Of the Three Caballeros, because all 4 of us have the same memories. So we're just going to kind of jump in and get into our opinions. We'll try to keep it short, but I'm going to go ahead and start, because this is the first movie that I've had to do this.
Oh, man.
I hated this movie.
Everybody, get ready. Prepare yourselves. Take notes. Record. Anyways, go ahead.
I hated this movie. I know that I'm the trademark #happy optimist who loves everything about everything because I'm stupid and sunshine and rainbows, but I hated this movie. I was watching it at my wife's parents' house over Thanksgiving break, and my wife and her mother walked into the room. They looked at me, and I just felt so much shame for having them see me watch the movie.
Shame.
And they were like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "I have to cover this on the podcast." And my wife, Madeline's mother, Miss Cindy, I love her. She said, "Well, I'll tell you what you can say about this movie on the podcast. You can say, all right, this movie sucks, and that's it. Movie over. Podcast over." So that would be my mother-in-law's opinion of this movie. Is that it sucks.
Sounds like Cindy. Love you, Cindy.
Yeah.
Miss you.
I don't think she listens to the podcast, but if she does, hey, Mom. So, yeah, I am so sorry to bring the mood down, but I hated this movie. There's 2 parts of the movie that I adored, and the rest of it I hated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of excited because I've never been the wet blanket before, but I also don't like being the wet blanket, so it's a lot of mixed emotions. So now for our usual wet blanket, Adam.
I did not like this movie either.
I was waiting for you to say, I loved this movie just to...
I was debating. I was heavily debating. I don't know if I hated it quite as much as Aaron, but, it was not good. A lot of the most interesting segments ended the quickest, and then the ones that I'm like, okay, this is whatever, just kept going. And by the end... I don't remember who said it in our group chat, but it felt like I was on an acid trip. I had no idea what was going on. It was terrifying,
it felt
and I would
like
just
tripping on acid or mushrooms or something.
Shall I read you one of my last notes?
Yes.
One of my very last notes. Drug trip is an understatement.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have about a paragraph of just my personal opinions on this movie at the end. So
Yeah, but like my roommates, very similar to you, Aaron. My roommates walked out at the end, and one of them has very good attachments to this movie. She's like, "Oh, is it still good?" And I'm like, "What?"
What do you mean still?
I'm like, I had just finished doing some stuff, and I'm like, I just have 10 minutes of this movie left. And then she was like, and after a few minutes went by, she goes, "I know you said you had 10 minutes, but it feels like this has been going on." I'm like, I feel like I have been watching this 10 minutes for 30 minutes. It is.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's bad.
Emma, if you listen to this podcast, I need you to tell me.
Hi, Emma, I love you.
Yes, hi Emma, hi Java, love you both. I need you to tell me personally why you have a personal connection and love for this movie, because I'm
gonna go ahead and defend her because she's gonna get on my case if I don't. She was like, I don't remember. I was 5. It was the music, and then there was also pretty colors. I don't know. And I went, Did you watch past the first 10 minutes? She goes, probably not.
That sounds about right.
Emma, that's fair. I'll give you a pass. And also because you're a friend. So,
watch the first couple things, fast forward to the Three Caballeros song.
Cut it there, you're good.
10 out of 10. Right there.
Oh,
okay.
Man.
Andrew, go ahead and give us your opinion as well.
This movie was awful.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
I think I'm kind of walking the line between dislike and hate. I don't know if it's a pure hatred, but I did not, in the slightest, care for this movie. Like, this was just not a fun time after the first, 10 minutes, like you said, Adam. It just...
I went into this thinking, Saludos Amigos is going to be the worst, because it was the first, and now that, we've gotten out of them trying to make a documentary out of an animated movie, we're in for a better time. Whoo, I was wrong.
Yeah, it starts fairly well, like you'd expect for one of these. And then it just is so slow and so long for the rest of the movie until the Three Caballeros song. That's the only thing that kind of brings it back up towards the end there. And then you still have 30 minutes left of movie after that feels like it goes on for 2 hours. It's ridiculous. I did not like this movie at all.
So if you like this movie and you choose to not listen to this episode, sorry, Andrew,
you're wrong. No, I was done.
Oh, okay. If you like this movie and you choose to stop listening to our episode, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want anyone doting on my favorite movies, but also, why do you like this movie? I just don't get it.
I hate to be that, as much as I'm the trademark wet blanket, I hate to be that guy, but what do you see? Do you like a part of this movie? Do you like the Three Caballeros as characters, or do you like the Three Caballeros song? All of those are completely acceptable answers. Anything else, you're wrong. You're just wrong.
And I hate to be like that, and I hate to say those kinds of things, because I've said many times, every single Disney movie is someone's favorite. And I respect that, because there's many reasons. I mean, we talked about, on our Dumbo episode, about how every Disney movie is hard for somebody, or it's somebody's least favorite because of, with Andrew losing his daughter, Baby Mine, that segment, and just Dumbo as a whole was really hard for him. So, Disney hits people in different ways, and I get that, and I respect that. And I respect that Disney in each movie can mean something to you. But if the Three Caballeros movie is your favorite, I genuinely would want to know why. Why is it your favorite? Is there some sort of childhood memory associated with it? Is it because you watched it after this really hard thing happened, or whatever? I would love to know the reason, because I know there would be a reason. And it surely can't just be because you think the movie's good.
I feel like this has to be the one exception to that. Every Disney movie is someone's favorite.
I don't think so.
I feel like this has to be an exception.
I don't think so. I think every Disney movie... I mean, when I was doing my research, I read a lot of reviews from people that are from Mexico and from some South American countries that said that they grew up watching this movie and they loved it. So, like, I know that
And that's
there are
fair.
people that this would be their favorite movie, but I'm assuming it would be because of childhood nostalgia or something. So I would love to hear
Well, that and representation as well is a huge thing. Like that's always gonna give it bonus points and raise it up in your what am I looking for? Like favor, I guess.
That sounds right.
Yeah, like because we three, or four really, have never had that problem growing up as white people in America. We're represented in everything, but when, especially back in the 40s, like having this kind of representation on like a Disney level is pretty amazing. So,
I mean, that's how we talked about in the last episode. Jose became huge in Brazil because they finally got representation of their country. Like, that's a big thing. I mean, even the African American community, they only just recently, within the past 20 years, got appropriate representation through The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Representation in the media is so important, especially nowadays, because the media is so prevalent. And so if you or your culture or your country or what you stand by and live by and who you are, if that's not represented in any form of media, that can be disheartening.
Absolutely.
So I understand the importance of the movie. It's just weird. It's just a weird movie.
This is a little off topic, but while we're on the subject of representation, like, and this is just showing my geeky, nerdy colors here, but like Barbara Gordon, right, was Batgirl. She became handicapped and became Oracle for a while and was still like one of the most important, helpful people in the DC Comics universe. And it was the first time that people who were like stuck in wheelchairs were truly felt represented, and they absolutely loved her. Like any comic that she was in, like the sales were way up because of it. So like it's amazing what representation can do.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
It makes me think of the four of us grew up watching Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
We were huge into that, and we actually, Andrew and Adam used to have a small podcast that they did, and we did an episode on the series. And we talked for a while in that podcast episode about disabilities and how they're presented in that show. Disabilities are not a hindrance, but they're used as a strength. I mean, you look at Toph and how her blindness is a strength, or you look at the kid who I can never remember his name, who's at the Northern Air Temple.
In the wheelchair, yeah.
In the wheelchair, but he uses that to his advantage in flying.
Anyways.
Sorry. But speaking of representation, there's a warning at the beginning of this movie about improper representation, and I did so much research trying to figure out what that was about, and I found nothing. So maybe they just put that as they're worried that maybe their representations...
on all of them at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I know of a lot of them that are on there, like the Aristocats, having it on there for the Asian cat, and there's stuff that's understandable, but this one...
Oh my gosh, I forgot about him.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't make sense of any of it, so I don't know if maybe it's like a preemptive apology because it was made in the 40s that they're worried that some people might see the representation from the 40s as offensive now compared to culture now. So I don't really know. I couldn't find it. I really tried, but sorry. So let us pick up the burden that is walking through the Three Caballeros. Let's just do it.
Let's get started.
So,
I'm going to start off with a positive if I can.
Okay.
Yes, I am too, because the movie honestly started out strong. I think it started out pretty strong.
Framing device going between clip to clip, it being Donald's birthday and he's opening up the present and there's different movies and stuff, I think is ingenious. It's absolutely, it's so smart, it's so much fun. He gets to interact and be the voice of the audience. Well, no, wait a minute. What's that? As the narrator talks directly to him and stuff comes out of the movies a little bit.
And he interacts with it. It was so cute. It was great.
And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm in for a good time.
So that is the basic plot of the movie. Is it's Donald's birthday and his friends from Latin America sent him gifts, and he has 3 presents. And so the plot of the movie is technically him going through those presents and what they have to offer. Which was kind of hard for me to remember that at some points in this movie, but that's okay. So the first present he opens up, and it is a film projector and a screen. And the movie that he puts in there there's some really fun visual gags and stuff in this as well as he's setting it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels so classic Donald to me.
Classic Donald, yes.
Was really enjoying that. So he puts in the movie, and it is a movie about strange birds. And I remember there being a segment, I knew of the segment of Pablo the Penguin. And so when I saw Strange Birds, I thought, yes, here we go. And Pablo is the high point in this movie for me. Just throwing that out there now. Pablo is the best part of this movie. So we jump into this film that Donald watches about Pablo the Penguin from the South Pole. And he's a penguin who does not like the cold. He doesn't like the cold at all. And that's pretty ironic. So
I loved that his stove was like his best friend.
Smokey Joe the stove.
Smokey Joe. The cutest thing where he'd like warm his belly and then his butt would get cold, so he'd warm his butt and then his belly would get cold. It was the cutest thing.
I just love the name Smokey Joe for a stove. That's just fantastic.
Oh yeah, we love Smokey Joe. So it starts showing all of the wonderful things there are to do on vacation at the South Pole, like staying at the beach, skiing, tobogganing, swimming, which I love when the penguin goes in the water and the water splashes up. It just freezes mid-splash. It's pretty funny. So Pablo never liked the South Pole. He always dreamt of going to warm tropical beaches. And so he attempts to set out for a tropical beach. And he gets not very far from his house, and he freezes. And so he does a couple different things to try to leave. And finally, he comes up with the idea of a boat. So he cuts a boat out of ice. And that boat is quite impressive, because that ice doesn't melt till he gets to the stinking equator. Like,
yeah.
That's impressive. Mm-hmm. So he takes his boat and he sails north. And a blanket of fog rolled in, which I loved that, because it literally looked like a rolled up blanket unrolled.
Mm-hmm. That was
just like cuts it out.
I thought that was really, really fun. And so
good
Pablo makes his way up the western coast. Sorry, I had to put up my L's and figure out which way he was heading up. So Pablo sails up the Chilean coast, past Chile, up the coast of Peru and Ecuador, and then he gets to the equator. And he had trouble at the equator, but not to worry. Neptune, the Roman god of the sea, shows up and lifts the equator so he could get past it. I mean, whatever works for you, I guess. Whatever works for you. And he takes a sharp turn left and goes towards the Galapagos. And then his ice melts, which, again, I'm just impressed that the ice lasted that long.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. And so there's this whole scene of him trying to make a boat out of his tub. And he finally makes it work where it stops flooding the boat. And he has the shower head connected to it, and it turns into a motorboat. It's a pretty clever penguin. And then he makes it to the Galapagos Island. There was also some pretty fun references along his journey. There was one, what was his name? The Crusoe guy?
Robinson Crusoe.
Robinson Crusoe, who was like shipwrecked on an island for years and years. And yeah, some funny references. But he makes it to the Galapagos, and then he's there tanning and fanning himself because he's sweating. But lo and behold, he's a little homesick because this penguin is never satisfied. And that is Pablo the Penguin, a cutie little short narrated by our favorite Sterling Holloway.
I like that it started with and then to learn more about it, we're gonna go to our Dr. Holloway.
I love
Professor
that.
Holloway or whatever it
Professor
was.
Holloway.
It was no
as soon as they said Professor Holloway.
Yeah,
no Pedro, but
I feel like they were trying to recreate the magic of Pedro the plane there, and it didn't quite get it. Mm-hmm. I think Fred Shields is just a little bit better at narrating that sort of thing than.
Yeah, well, Sterling's a character
Holloway.
Actor.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a character actor. He's better with that.
He's better at doing a character than just narrating. It didn't feel like he quite had enough energy for that type of
Yeah.
narration
And-
they were going with. But it was still a very
And Fred
cute
Shields,
short.
Fred Shields is known for narration. I mean, one of the only characters he did was the Prince of the Forest in
Mhm.
Bambi.
The great
And I think we
Prince.
could have said Sterling Holloway would have probably done better in Bambi. Like, I mean, it's just because
I
Sterling
mean,
was
he
a
was
voice
in
actor.
Bambi. He was adult Flower.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I totally forgot.
How dare
He
you
did
call
that.
yourself a Winnie the Pooh fan?
I'm so ashamed of myself. So, anyways, that's the end of the movie. We're gonna end it there because
Nope.
I wanna
Done.
end on
Not
a high
talking
note.
about anything more.
no, that's only the first section of the movie, and that, in my opinion, sorry to tip my hand, but that is where the movie loses its charm.
Honestly, I was
'cause-
still okay with like the next section for a little while. The next
Yeah,
animated
the
section,
next-
because I could still
The next
tolerate
short
that.
was not bad.
Up to a point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little long. So the next
It-
section
it
is
was.
another one of the videos that Donald watched on his projector, and this one is narrated by Fred Shields. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't get that out. Fred Shields. And this is The Flying Gauchito, about Gauchito and Burrito. Burrito meaning little donkey.
Or food
This was
from
a
Taco Bell.
that too.
I'm sorry. This
This was a
short,
weird short, but it was
It-
cute.
It was cute. This short felt. I understand now how people feel when I'm trying to tell a story, because this felt like listening to someone with ADHD try to tell a story.
It
Because
was
he
the
kept getting
most
so distracted.
Unfocused thing ever. Because at first, like, we're gonna tell a story about a bird. Oh, look, there's me going hunting. I was in the forest. No, the mountains. It was a donkey flying. We're entering a race now. It was. I'm like, what
And-
is happening?
And
Now-
the Eric, whatever that really weird bird was.
The Araquan bird.
the condor.
Araquan, thank you.
Oh, no, that. Yeah.
And it like
You were thinking of the Aconcagua, the mountain from some
Aconcagua,
of
that's-
this
yeah.
images.
the Araquan, like it went to that and was like focusing on that for a minute, and then it was like, and we're done with that. It felt like such a nothing thing to have in there for no reason.
Exactly.
It went nowhere other than to come
Yeah.
back like once more for one little joke later, where it comes out and like does something with Donald and then leaves again and is never seen again. It was absolutely
fun fact.
pointless.
Fun fact about the Araquan bird. The man who created the video game Epic Mickey loved the Araquan bird. That was his favorite character from this movie. And he wanted the Araquan bird to be an Epic Mickey, but it didn't make the final cut.
Oh, that's kind of
Huh.
funny.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so that's a fun random fact. Also, I actually personally really liked the beginning where the narrator couldn't remember the details, and so it kept changing between like a tree, no, a mountain, no, maybe it was a tree. I thought that was kind of funny, and I thought it worked. Yes, so after learning about more random birds, you end up getting to Gauchito, which I did not notice this in the movie, but in my research I found out that this is based in the country Uruguay, or Uruguay, I don't know how to pronounce it, but which is south of Brazil. But it's only in Uruguay in the English versions of the movie. In the Hispanic versions, it was based in Argentina. So,
What?
yeah, some weird inconsistency there. But
Huh.
so we start Gauchito, and he's hunting after some weird Ornero bird because its nest looks like an oven. I don't know, some weird stuff. And then while he's hunting, he thinks he's gonna kill a condor, but it turns out to be a donkey with wings, burrito. And then he
Which is
trains
just-
the
Kind of like, they just expect you to accept it.
yeah. But you know what? I'm kind of
I-
whatever about it.
I don't know. I don't know what the point of
Any of it?
any of it. Yeah. It was
Insert
just
joke about
so
Pinocchio
bizarre.
here.
Like, why a flying donkey? Donkey with wings. Like, why? Like, I get that you entered a race with it later or whatever, but still, like,
It's not like it would be one of those. If they had an interesting story to tell, that's like, oh, this only works if there's a donkey with wings, so accept it. Like Dumbo, like only works if you just kind of accept the fact that an elephant can fly. It's a fun story though. It's like this is like I feel like you're like we're gonna do a flying donkey, and what are we gonna do with it?
A race? Like what?
It just doesn't work.
No.
So thanks for the segue, Andrew. So he captures this flying donkey and decides, I'm going to train it to be in a gaucho race, because what else do you do with a flying donkey? And so he trains Burrito, and then he enters in this gaucho race, and then he's losing the gaucho race, and then he cheats, and then he wins.
Yeah, he absolutely
and then they catch him. And then he's caught. They see that he's a cheater because the donkey starts flying, and then he flies away. And apparently, Fred Shields, the narrator, is Gauchito from the future. I don't know.
Well, it established that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just a weird.
But also, it's also like not even a satisfying conclusion. It's like,
no, it's
oh,
not.
they found out we were cheating, and then we ran, and nobody ever saw us again. What?
Yeah.
What? Are you okay?
It was at that moment that I realized just what a trip I was in for.
It's like those interviews with the people where they're just like a silhouette because of like witness protection or whatever. It felt like one of those things. And we were never seen from again. All right, now I got to get out of here before somebody catches me. So, but or something like that. You know, it was just the weirdest thing. Like this movie makes no sense. Like at least with Saludos Amigos, it all made sense because it was a documentary of these different countries, right?
And at this point, I was willing to let it slide. I was willing to like,
Yeah.
all right, not your biggest hit, but go ahead, Donald. Put in the next movie, open the next present. Let's see what we got. I'm not the greatest, but I mean, not all of them are going to be bangers. It's fine. Moving on.
And
Yeah,
then he
Saludos
opened the
Amigos
next
was at
present.
least it was strung together well.
Yeah.
And they attempted to string all of this together, too, with the whole premise of it's Donald's birthday and he's opening the presents. But you just don't really get that when you're watching through it. Like, there are moments where it's like, oh, yeah, that's what's been happening. But it just doesn't work. It just really, really doesn't work.
No.
So, anyways, that's the Gauchito segment. Then Donald goes and opens his second present. And it's a book from Brazil, and he opens the book, and it's a breath of fresh air. It's Jose Carioca singing.
Yay!
And he starts to tell Donald about Bahia, which is one of the states of Brazil. Fun fact, random little fact. And so then he starts singing about Bahia, and the song lasts for like 20 minutes.
I really liked the song at first.
It was a beautiful
like,
song, but it was just long.
Have you been to Bahia? No. Well, then let's go. It was said like 17 times, and I'm like, I get it. Are we going?
Me crazy.
I did like the plot twist that Jose had never actually been to Bahia.
That was fun.
good.
Had that
was
happened
pretty good.
5 minutes prior.
You know, before the end of the song, yeah.
Because when this song first started, I was listening. I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, this may beat out Three Caballeros for me, song wise. I really like the way it sounds, and then it kept going, and I'm like, well, nope.
And the whole time that the song is happening, it's just scenery of Bahia that they animated, and like
Exactly.
I feel like if they had done something a little more dynamic, it could have been cool. Like
zoned out through here in this segment. Like I zoned back in at one point. I saw like the silhouettes of two sailboats out on a lake or whatever. That's the only thing I remember about the animation for this song.
Same. I could not tell you a single thing.
I was just like
I remember looking up one time and went, "This is Fantasia again," and I mean that derogatorily.
yeah, there was a couple different places in this where I was like, "Is this going to be one of those? Did it Fantasia better than Fantasia segments?" But for
I can confidently say none of this movie did Fantasia better.
Yeah, I was like, for all of them, I can say that no, it didn't Fantasia better than Fantasia.
It definitely tried to Fantasia. It was like, oh, isn't this what you're feeling? And I'm like, no, I'm feeling done!
I love that we've turned Fantasia into a verb now. It tried to
Fantasia is
but
a verb.
It failed.
Fantasia is a verb. So then, somehow... No, it was with the giant mallet. Jose makes Donald tiny, and I thought that was fun. I love a good smack on the head.
Jose started small because he came out of the book,
He's in the
and
book.
he just
And so
boom.
Donald and Jose enter the book because the book is now Bahia. And so through the book, they transported into Bahia, Brazil. And this is when it all gets really weird because they start singing another song about Yaya, who was played by Carmen Miranda's younger sister, who is a cookie merchant. But then and she's a live action woman who both Jose and Donald think is very attractive. And then a bunch of live action men come in and start playing different instruments and singing. And it's a very, very, very long sequence of Donald and Jose dancing around with Yaya and all these guys. And it's just a hot mess.
Like, premise-wise, I think it works. Okay, you're in the live-action section, and it's Donald and him competing for her attention and affection. Yeah. Whatever. It's a fun little song that teaches us a little bit about the culture. And then the other live-action
guys come in, and she turns her attention to them, and they're all jealous. Like, Jose and Donald will get jealous.
It's fun. Doesn't matter.
The fact keeps that it went happening on for 10 minutes.
And then, like, first of all, they never should have tried to have the live action interact with the animation because they were not ready for that, and it does not look good in any point.
No,
like
I
Donald
say,
and them, you can paint Donald, you can paint them interacting around them. That works fine, but any other time it does not work. I got a text from one of my roommates because I was watching it this morning, and he's like, "Hey, can you turn it down a little bit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize it was loud." He goes, "It's not. I was just sick of the song. I heard you. I heard you. I was literally. Hold on, I'm pulling up his text because it killed me. It was.
While you're pulling that up, I want to say there was a couple moments in this where I was like, "It's weird, but it's really fun seeing the dancing between Donald and Jose and the live action people." There are a few moments where it was genuinely cute and fun, but for the most part, it just felt off. Go ahead, Adam.
He literally texted me. I was like, "This is a long song," and then heard you say, "This is still going," and about died.
Yeah, like
what a big
this
mood.
is like Aaron. You said earlier, this is one of the first times that they mixed live action with animation. This is it had not been done very much before, if at all, before. Like so, this was really cool when it.
The only time they had done this prior was the Alice shorts they did in the 30s.
Right, and like. So, this was still very new. It had only been done once before. This was really incredible at the time, but it does not hold up. It hasn't aged well. They've learned how to do it much better since then. So, it didn't quite fit, didn't quite work nowadays, like watching it, and it just felt off. It was a little rough.
All around, it felt bad. It wasn't even enough interesting happening to warrant it being this long. The lyrics half the time were repetitive. I speak not a lick of Spanish, and I could still understand. I still noticed when they kept repeating lines.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, half the song was "ya ya."
Exactly. I learned that real quick.
Which is never mind. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. I was just gonna say I want to read some of my notes from this point because from my notes from throughout the Bahia sequence because it just kept changing. So it started where I said in all caps with a lot of exclamation points, Jose, because I love Jose. Mm-hmm. And then it started getting kind of weird. I was like, Yaya and Donald and Jose, chase live action women, whatever. And I said, she kisses him. Colorful dance party. What am I watching? And it just kept progressing.
And getting weirder and weirder.
Weirder and weirder. And then, all of a sudden, they left Bahia. And they jumped out of the book. And Jose, literally, they said he used black magic to make himself large again.
Yeah, like, what in the world?
Donald used the wrong finger to blow himself back up to the right size, and so he became a balloon animal and took the shape of, like, everything.
That was a fine gag. That was fine, but I'm like, I was still reeling from, he's like, you just gotta use a little black magic.
Yeah.
Word for word, and I'm like, what?
It's just a little black magic. Yeah. It's fine. We're like, hold on. This is a Disney movie, right? And then I felt... I liked the Donald gag. I felt that it went
black magic. Disney loves crime. Not really.
Is that what we're calling it?
We're gonna stretch it and make it work. Oh, I totally forgot to mention the beginning of Pablo the Penguin is our pouty princess when he's sitting in his igloo in front of Smokey Joe,
Yes.
shivering. He is our pouty princess for today.
Pouty princess.
Because if anybody deserves it, it is Pablo. So, that's the Bahia sequence, and we're just going to move on from there to the other only good part of this movie, the beginning of the Three Caballeros. So Donald realizes he still has another present to open. So he and Jose, after they re-enlarge themselves with black magic, Disney loves crime, he opens his last present, and it's just an explosion of sounds and colors and confetti and things, and you just hear this giant scream from Panchito.
And well played, sir.
I thought Panchito was going to be coming out immediately. I did not realize that first there's a little bit of the song with instruments and weird colors, and I was sitting there looking at it. It was really confusing, but then I realized it was a sound wave going down the middle of the screen.
Yeah.
And it was following the music. I was like, oh, that makes more sense. I thought I was tripping.
I actually really liked right here where Donald gets caught in the sound wave and keeps making all kind of weird,
that was really cool. And he's like trying to pull out of it.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
That was kind of fun.
So then, Panchito comes out, and by the way, they never introduce him. The only time you know Panchito's name is in the opening credits.
That's so weird.
Yeah, but either way, then we jump into the best part of this whole movie, the song, the Three Caballeros.
Yeah, definitely.
I love this song so much. So
it's
nostalgic.
Great.
It's such
Hearing
a good
Donald
song.
sing, when they sing the "We have the stars to guide us," that part, yes. So, I just have so many memories of us laughing at Donald as kids in that song. So it's great to hear it.
This song
great to
has
hear.
like the best visual gags in the entire film as well. Like
It's so
everything.
good.
They everything came together in this song, and they couldn't figure out what they did right and couldn't replicate it for the rest of the movie.
I feel like they made this part and went, we're going to make an entire movie around this. And then went, what else do we do?
What's next?
I didn't think
Oh.
we'd get this far.
I missed 2 fun facts. I had some fun facts written throughout my notes as well. The Gauchito scene was actually originally intended to be a part of Saludos Amigos, but they
That
did not,
makes
because
sense.
of production time, they didn't have it ready in time.
That makes
or it
sense.
got scrapped for it or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Bahia scene was completely cut out from the re-release in 1977 when they cut out a half hour of the movie. Part of that was the Bahia scene.
Why?
Because they couldn't cut out any of the Three Caballeros stuff because that's the name of the movie. So they had to have all the stuff with Panchito in it.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to make a quick apology. It's dinner time, and I'm hungry. So if you hear clinking of a fork, it's because I'm eating my food. I'm trying to make sure I don't talk while I eat, though, because that would be gross. And we are not here for ASMR.
They definitely peaked at the Three Caballeros song, and like you can even tell immediately out of the transition from it, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what to do.
Know where to go from there. Yeah.
It's like the immediate segment isn't bad, where he explains when they're trying to get Donald to break the piñata. It's fun. It's
That
fun.
was
It's like,
fun.
okay, that's a little fun. I like that. But
That was
the point
I
where
think it was
Donald's like peeking, trying to get it, and everything.
it's cute. It
It
works,
was good.
But everything else past that does not.
Once it explodes is when like everything starts going downhill too, because
Everything
it's like,
goes to heck.
what? How did this hold all of this stuff? Which I mean, cartoons, so that's not too big a deal. But it's just so much random stuff, like all this different color and everything just rushing at you. It was incredibly strange. And then it settles down, and he's like, "See, look at all these. I told you it's full of surprise or whatever." And then they immediately leave and go to Mexico on a flying sarape. And it's just the wildest sequence of events after that.
It is very weird. So, yes, right after the song, there's a pinata. That was the present. And so Donald's like, what's a pinata? And Panchito says, oh, it's a part of Christmas. And so Donald starts singing Jingle Bells.
Yes.
And I love that. And Panchito's like, no, not that Christmas. And so he starts talking about this tradition in Mexico, this Christmas tradition that has to do with the story of Mary and Joseph, the mother of Jesus, and her travels while she was pregnant with him and stuff, which was kind of interesting to see, like, some Christmas stuff in this movie. I wasn't expecting that. But it did come out in December and February, so it makes sense.
Right before Christmas, yeah.
And so after the whole explanation, Donald then goes to open his pinata, like you said, and a bunch of stuff. They mess with him, pull the pinata up, and when he busts it open, a bunch of random stuff flies out, including, but not limited to... No, I'm just kidding. Including...
I was like, oh no.
The magic serape, which is basically just a Mexican magic carpet, let's be real. So... they are about to get on a magic serape, but first, Panchito tells them about Mexico City, which this was the segment that I felt like could have been Fantasia if it hadn't gone on so long. But he was telling them about the tale of how Mexico City came to be, which actually is a true story. Mexico City was built on a lake. It was built on water. And I believe Mexico City has, it's like maybe 2 miles lower than it was when it was first built. Like the city has like been periodically sinking because it was built on a lake. I didn't research that. Don't quote me on it.
Yikes.
Whatever. But then after all the explanation on Mexico City, we get on the magic serape through Mexico, and there's live action and dancing, and then they go to a bunch of other places, and then at one point Donald is on a beach chasing girls in bikinis.
Yeah, it was.
And then they go to other places, and Donald just continues to fall for these people. And then somehow...
it's hard to connect the events here, because it's like, I know...
It sounds like a bunch of random stuff, but it's not. Like, it all happened one after the other. I just don't know how you connect it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wrote way too long across the entirety of my page, because it was way too long.
Yes. And Donald
Donald is literally chasing girls in bikinis.
Yeah, chasing after women, like, the entire last 30 minutes of this movie, almost.
I saw someone say that
ridiculous.
Disney, as the company, made sure not to have Daisy Duck in this movie because they were worried that with Donald chasing all the women, people would think of him and associate him with infidelity. So, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I just assumed Daisy hadn't been created yet.
Oh yeah, Daisy was already around at this point, I believe.
Wow,
if
Donald.
It's 10 years of Donald, then I'm sure they would have already made his counterpart.
That's fair.
I don't even know what to say, y'all. Like,
yeah, it's really hard to tackle this part because it's like
it just spirals down into random colors. I mean, Donald is chasing after this girl dressed as a cowgirl who's using a lasso as a baton to control cacti.
Yeah,
and then there's this woman whose face is in a flower. And
the woman face in the flower. I watched that.
That was the weirdest thing until I got the rest of her costume, and then it made a little more sense. But when it first just showed her with the flower thing, that was the weirdest, most abrupt, jolting experience. It was no bueno. It was, oh my gosh, it was awful. And then it ends up with Donald. The only other thing I remember is a little bit later, Donald is in the bull costume thing or whatever that came out of the pinata and is like chasing, going back and forth, like trying to get Panchito, and he keeps doing like a ole, the matador. Thank you, matador thing, where he's just like, hey, messing with Donald the whole time. And I think at that point the tune of the Three Caballeros had come back in. and
I believe so.
it felt like a fever dream. It was
It's
It
so
really did.
hard to
wildest
talk about 'cause
experience.
it's
So
hard to describe what happened.
Yeah,
It
like,
just,
I have
if
a
you
note.
evolved.
If you really want to know what happened, go watch it, but don't watch it.
I wouldn't recommend that.
Save yourself.
I have a note that I read that this is supposed to be representing the idea that love is a drug. That when you're in love, nothing makes sense.
Sure.
I got a
But I
hard
really-
disagree with that.
I mean, like,
Like-
I guess that idea kind of makes sense theoretically,
yeah,
but it
it
just
does.
didn't really come across that way.
It's not
No,
what
it-
that felt like.
No.
So,
Like, I know love. I know what it feels like. It's wonderful. That felt scary and terrifying.
It
Oddly
did.
enough, I feel like if you had brought Daisy in, it would have communicated that more.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been like, okay, no, this is love. Because, like, right now, it's going to sound weird, but it sounded like lust. It sounded like, he's like, hot women, ooga.
that's
Donald
exactly
is
what
just
it was.
A straight
That's what
up
most of this
porn
movie
dog.
was.
This whole
That's,
whole movie.
It's just uncomfortable to watch one of Disney's most beloved and classic characters just straight up thirsting after live-action women.
Absolutely thirsting after these women. It was bizarre and unsettling. I don't
Very
know how
much
else
so.
to put it. It felt very much like in I don't know if you've watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but the scene where Jessica Rabbit is singing and Bob Hoskins is just like infatuated with her. Like, not in a weird way, it's just like a wow, like she's beautiful thing. But it feels so wrong because he's a real like live action person and she's a cartoon. And it's the same feeling here with Donald and these ladies. It does not feel right.
I say it's worse here, but
Oh, absolutely. It's absolutely worse here, but it's like the same situation, but like reversed in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But it's still the same uneasy feeling. It's just multiplied in the Three Caballeros.
yeah. So, firstly, the woman whose face is in the flower, she's giving me the same vibe I got from the fish eyes and Fantasia.
It
Not
always
feeling it.
comes back to Fantasia.
And then I just have a couple statements that I wrote after finishing this movie, because there's no way to wrap up this movie other than I'm just going to read you guys my notes, and we're going to move on from there.
Absolutely. I think that's only fair at this point.
Okay. I said, Donald is literally chasing girls in bikinis. Another song, Drug Trip is an understatement. Most of this movie is just Donald chasing women, in all caps, underlined, very uncomfy. Started with high hopes, but after Pablo, just kept getting more disappointed and weird. And lastly, I wanted it to be over so badly.
I think I said it earlier.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. I actually debated not finishing this. I had to pause it about 10 minutes in or about 10 minutes away to finish some stuff. And I was sitting there like,
Am I actually?
I know what's gonna
finish
happen,
this?
right? I got this, right? I don't have to actually like watch this. And I did, but I kind of regret it.
It's just the weirdest choices that they could have made to celebrate Donald's 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, like this honestly made me think so much less of his character than anything prior had.
And I hate that because I love Donald Duck.
Yeah.
Did we find Disney Loves Crime, an actual one besides the black magic?
Nope.
Cheating in
I
the
mean-
race. Disney Loves
There
Crime.
you go.
I was
There
gonna
you
say
go.
harassment on the beach, but sure.
That will also do it.
This
Disney
one's
Loves Crime.
littered with crime.
So, harassment, possession of marijuana, or some kind of drugs, clearly.
That's what it felt like in this movie. Aaron's face.
I'm dead.
Listen, I've got nothing. It's so.
Okay, so
I don't know that there's anything else we can say about this movie.
there's not. So let's go ahead and close the book on Disney's The Three Caballeros, a book that shall never be opened again.
Thank you.
Lagging again, pretty bad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I waited a while to smile.
Oh, okay.
I
Say
never
hi?
even saw you smile. I was just waiting for your verbal response and never heard anything.
No, I just didn't say anything.
Okay. It's getting a little bit better. I just wanted to. But
It's
yeah,
still-
let's go ahead and pick it up. Finish this off.
Still not as bad as on Riverside, whatever it was.
Earlier it was actually what I would consider worse.
Oh, okay. Well,
But right now,
we're gonna
no.
we're gonna keep going. So, I suppose it's time to go through our closing stuff. So, let's try to start with a high note. Favorite character? I want to hear from Adam.
Crap. Can I make it two? Because so my favorite character is the duo between Jose and Panchito.
Yes.
Because them playing off each other, like, each one on themselves are fine, but I feel like their shortcomings pop up way too much. Panchito's a little too much, a little too extra, and Jose is a little too much of a know-it-all. He comes across, like, I love Jose probably the most, but he comes across a little bland and kind of just like, oh no, you don't understand, I already know it. So the two of them duoing, especially to kind of pick on Donald, is very fun, and I think it's where the movie shines the most.
I forgot to say, they tried to take the trope from Saludos Amigos where he said, or as you say, or as you Americans say, they tried to play on that way too much in this movie.
Yeah.
It worked the first time, or as you Americans say, what's cooking?
Yeah, that was great.
I'm like, that
And then
was
after
fun. That was
they
good.
Just kept
Every other time it was
doing it.
butchered.
Yes, it was. Ugh.
Andrew.
I'm going to agree with Adam. I think the best character in this movie was the combination of Jose and Panchito picking on Donald, or just the two of them in general. I think you're right. They balanced each other out very well because Jose is very like, oh, I want to get lost in romance. He's got like passion. He's very passionate, whereas Panchito is very energetic and like, yeah, let's have some fun. Let's do it. And you put them together and it worked really well. Like the two of them together were just a vibe. You know, like, yeah, they were just like hanging out like old buddies. It was great, especially when it came to picking on Donald, because it absolutely made parts of this movie tolerable.
And I do want to also give a shout out to Jose and Donald, because they, especially in the Three Caballeros song, have a very good duo of trying to be like, okay, this guy's a lot. We're trying to keep up with him, but also match his energy. It worked. Them two doing that and like trying to keep up, but also acknowledging like, oh my gosh, this is a lot.
You see a lot of both of those relationships throughout that song, because you see a lot of Jose and Donald trying to keep up, but you also see a lot of Jose picking up really naturally, and so Jose and Panchito doing it and Donald falling behind.
Because Jose is very musically inclined, as you see. He loves dancing. He loves the music. He plays music on his umbrella all the time. You know, he dances all the time. So he picked up with Panchito very well. He's used to high tempo energy with the samba and everything like that, whereas Donald's tripping over his own feet all the time. So it worked really well.
Well, unfortunately, both of y'all are wrong, because the best character in this movie is Pablo the Penguin.
There it is.
There it is.
I knew it. It was
He's
coming.
so cute.
I was trying not to repetition myself and make the Pedro of this movie my favorite character again, but also, you know.
He's so cute. Also, spoilers, but not spoilers, Abby is Pablo because she's always freezing cold.
I love that so much.
I couldn't not have y'all's reaction on this podcast to her. So
That's wonderful.
I would ask what your favorite song is, but I'm absolutely 100% positive all three of us, our favorite song is the Three Caballeros song. So
it almost wasn't. Like, the first time he was singing, I don't remember what it was called.
Bahia.
Yeah, I actually loved that. And I'm like, maybe it was just because I wanted it to be different. Then I was like, this may be my favorite song. But I'm like, I really enjoy this. And then it just kept going, and it killed it for me.
Yeah, that's how I was with casting y'all. I really wanted to do different characters because I didn't. I mean, this is the 3rd episode that I've been Donald, and this is our 7th episode, 8th if you count the intro. And so it's like I don't want to make myself Donald again. I want to do first-time characters, but there's like nobody in this movie.
There's no characters, and also it's the Three Caballeros. I think that this one's appropriate.
I didn't want to pass up that opportunity. Sure. So, yeah. What about favorite scene, favorite part?
I actually have this one at the ready.
Go for it.
So, it's actually in the Pablo special when the boat or his tub sinks and he bails it out fast enough, and then to plug it, puts the shower head in, and it starts going out and making it like a little jet, like a jet stream. I loved that. That was the most creative and clever thing animation-wise. It was so much fun. Loved it.
It was fantastic. Angela absolutely died laughing when he started trying to bail out the water with his tiny little hat, and the fact that it worked was incredible.
From underwater.
From underwater, yeah, but she died to the fact that I had looked down at my phone for a second at something, and she was like, no, you have to rewind it. You have to see this. It was wonderful. I was like, that's great. Oh, it was wonderful.
Andrew? Is that yours as well?
No, that is not mine, but that is a very close second. My favorite scene part is the entirety of the Three Caballeros song. It has my favorite visual gags in this movie. I have always loved it growing up. I'm a bit nostalgic for it, I will admit, but I thought it was the most fun. It had the best energy with Panchito finally there, and Jose and Donald trying to keep up. Jose keeping up better than Donald. Donald failing at everything because he's Donald. That was my absolute favorite part of the movie. It's the only reason that I even watched all the way through the movie.
Mine's also the Three Caballeros song, but it's a specific moment in the song, and it is a big old shout out to Michael Jackson, the king himself. I'm just kidding. Elvis is the king. It's a reverse Michael Jackson when they're singing. We have the stars to guide us, and they're leaning back back. It's like the Michael Jackson lean, but backwards. And Jose and Panchito are like perfect, like they're like almost laying on the ground, but they're still standing up, looking at the stars. And Donald like falls, and then is looking at them like, "How are you doing that?" And that was just so funny to me because I immediately thought that's like the Michael Jackson lean, but then of course Donald fell, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so perfect. That's the best." That's the best picture of Donald in comparison to any other Disney character. It just works.
I also love the part where they're like, "We have with our guitars beside us," and Donald keeps trying to do it, and it's different instruments till he finally gets the upright bass, and it's like, "Okay, I'll work with it.
Make it work.
I'll make it work." It's like a saxophone and then a trumpet,
like a
and
saxophone,
then the upright bass, I think,
and then the upright bass. But he's just
like,
no.
So my favorite part in the Three Caballeros song is absolutely we have the we go through stormy weather, and with the sombreros collecting the rain and going into the others, and it falls out like a fountain. Good. I love that. That's my favorite visual gag. I think it's much fun.
I also love the note Panchito holds at the end with Jose and Donald trying to get him to shut up.
And they're trying to get him to stop, and he just keeps going through everything. That's
so
what were they thinking burning the bushes in front of him was going to do?
I don't know. I love the trope with cutting the floor around him and then the rest of the floor falls.
It's so stupid, but I love it.
It's so classic. Like Looney Tunes. It's a classic
I was going to say,
trope, I love it.
It's a lot like the kind of stuff that we had talked about last time in Saludos Amigos, just like the slapstick kind of humor.
Yeah.
Like Disney doesn't use slapstick very often, but when they do, it's usually pretty good.
Yeah, they used to do more in their animated shorts that came out in like theaters and everything.
They did more in the old shorts and stuff, but
they
didn't do it super often. But when they did, it usually hits really well.
Yeah,
and that's one of those things that it just works. It just works.
Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry are what you immediately think of, or like Three Stooges or something when you think of like slapstick. And but it's when Disney does it, they do it well.
Yeah. Okay. Time to get controversial, you guys. I want y'all to tell me your least favorite part, because there's so many to choose from.
It's just the drug trip. I can't remember enough to pick out a specific spot, but just the entire drug trip at the end. You know what? I'm gonna change it. I'm actually gonna say Yaya is my least favorite part. Because
Really?
At least then I still had expectations. I was still hoping this would be good. Jose was there. I was still like, all right, cool. Here's where the movie picks up. We got Three Caballeros. At that point, because by the time of the drug trip, I was already kind of done. I'm like, it's fine, whatever.
That's
I still had expectations. Killed me.
Yeah. Straight up, at that part, I'll go ahead and spoil. I was thinking either a 5 or a 6 for this movie, and it tremendously dropped.
Oh, me too. Me too. I was planning on giving it a much higher rating by the end of Pablo, and then I lowered it a little bit at Gauchito, but then at Yaya, it was just gone.
Yeah,
my
once
least
the framing
favorite
device
part-
had been set, and then Pablo went in, I was like, if they keep this up, it's probably gonna be like a 7. And
Yeah.
then just
Nope.
Bottomed out.
My least favorite part is Donald chasing the women on the beach in the bikinis, because the rest of the movie made me uncomfortable, but that made me like upset, uncomfortable. Like
Yeah.
that's
What do
my
you
Donald
mean?
Duck.
You didn't enjoy him yelling, "Come to Papa"?
Yeah, he literally yelled, "Come to Papa."
Oh, so uncomfy. Also, by the way, fun fact: that was not actually filmed on the beach. That was filmed in the back of the lot at
I believe it.
studios. Yeah, so that's fun. Andrew.
It's like the entire second half of this movie. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
My absolute least favorite part, I think, is Donald chasing the women, not just on the beach, just all of it, because it just keeps going. He goes from chasing women on the beach to chasing a cowgirl with the cacti, and then the flower girl, and he's like constantly trying to kiss, and then it goes to a drug trip, and it's just so bizarre. Like, I think that because it went on for so long, it was just, I was miserable watching. I was like, I don't care about any of this anymore. Like, why am I still watching? But I can safely say I made it through the movie.
Somehow I did too.
Somehow. But it's just...
Well, let's go ahead and give our final thoughts and our ranking, because we've got some other business to take care of. And then we'll have the interviews with Chaos as well, so we can go ahead and give our final thoughts and our ranking. Let's start with... Let's just do Adam. We'll keep the same order we've been doing.
Fair enough. So this movie's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And like, it started off with way more promise than I was expecting. So I went into like the first bit of it excited and ready, and it dropped like a bomb. There was like the only reprieve from literally, I think, the second skit on was the Three Caballeros song. The winged donkey was fine up to a point, but then after that it was just bad. Like, it was either boring, bad, or way too long, and the only thing that did not do that was the Three Caballeros song, which is why I understand why that's the most famous part of the movie, because it's the only good part of the movie, and why people remember that, because they